Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So I meant to do this video last night, but I wasn't able to. I apologize to everyone, but I had to talk about this issue. Um, this whole situation is absolutely outrageous. And for those who aren't familiar with this Breonna Taylor situation, I want to just briefly go over what happened. This occurred in Louisville, Kentucky. The police executed a no-knock warrant, and they entered Breonna Taylor's house. They intruded in her house, and her boyfriend said that the people that knocked on her door did not identify themselves as police officers. From what I understand, they were in plain clothes, so there was no way for him to know who these people were, to know that they were police officers. So he did what a man should do, and that's defend his house. He fired at the officers. The officers returned fire. They ended up shooting and killing Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor was unarmed. She wasn't posing any kind of threat to the police, but they shot her 6 times and killed her. And for months now, there's been this demand for justice for Breonna Taylor. There have been protests in Louisville, Kentucky, and around the country where people are demanding justice. And, so you've had activists, you've had people like Oprah Winfrey putting up billboard signs demanding justice for Breonna Taylor. You've had celebrities demand justice for Breonna Taylor. And yesterday, the grand jury issued its decision, and they decided basically not to indict the officers who shot and killed Breonna Taylor. Those officers don't face a single charge. The 2 officers that were responsible for shooting and killing Breonna Taylor face 0 charges. And then what they did is they tried to throw you some scraps, to throw you some bones, to throw you a few crumbs by indicting this 3rd officer for activity that had nothing to do with Breonna Taylor's death. He was charged with 3 counts of first-degree wanton endangerment for shots that he fired towards other apartment units, indiscriminately firing into apartment units. In that situation, nobody was killed or no one was injured from what I understand, but he was charged. So he faces 3 counts. And each one of those counts is like a 5-year maximum sentence. And that has absolutely nothing to do with the shooting and killing of Breonna Taylor. But they give you that little crumb. They give you that little bone to try to pacify you. Just like, they reached a settlement with the family. They gave the family $12 million. And, people are supposed to think that that's some kind of justice or something. They're supposed to think that that means that there's justice for the family. When the fact of the matter is, how much is a Black life worth? Here you have a young woman in the prime of her life, a woman who is serving the people by being an EMT, a worker, one of the workers that are on the front lines at the time when we had this virus ravaging America. This woman was on the front line protecting lives. And this is what happens to her. She gets killed by the police. So, they give the family this $12 million. And it's a significant amount of money if you just look at the money. But when you look at the loss of life, is $12 million enough, especially when you look at how that's divided? The attorney is going to get at least a third of that. And then you got to have taxes on top of that, which is going to take half of it. And then you have all these family members that are going to divide that money up. At the end of the day, that's nothing. At the end of the day, that is not justice for Breonna Taylor. And this situation that we see in this case is a prime example of injustice. And in this situation, They set the bail at like $15,000. I wouldn't be surprised if that officer is not out on bail right now. And I haven't read the stories. I don't know if he's already posted bail, but I'm sure he has. But this is the situation we have. And I see, shout out to Psycho. I see you in the building. Yeah, and that is an example of hush money. Like that's what they do. First of all, they pay off the family and they get the family to just chill out, so the family's not on the front lines, demanding justice and all that kind of stuff, or being as vocal or as hostile as they ordinarily would be. So they like hush them up, with this money. And then with this money, they had the family telling the protesters to chill out, not to be violent and all that kind of stuff. So in a lot of ways, it is like hush money. It's money to shut people up. And then, they're talking about how there's this FBI investigation. I don't have any confidence at all in an FBI investigation, for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is under the Trump administration. The FBI under Trump has not been aggressive. The Justice Department, they haven't been aggressively fighting against police brutality at all. You have an administration that doesn't even view police brutality as some real issue. You have an administration that didn't say a word about what happened yesterday, didn't have anything to say about the death of Breonna Taylor, but had all this praise for this Uncle Tom Negro prosecutor down there. So, yeah, so you have this FBI investigation that's supposed to be taking place. I don't expect anything to come from that. You have the high legal standards in those types of investigations. It's going to be highly unlikely that any charges will be brought. And, I want to deal with this this attorney general down there. He suggested that this is all about the evidence, all about the facts, and this is the conclusion that the grand jury reached. And as many of these commentators have said, if that prosecutor wanted to bring charges against those officers who shot and killed Breonna Taylor, they could have brought charges. They could have brought charges against those officers. And the grand jury would have indicted those officers if you had an aggressive attorney general down there that was trying to do what was necessary to bring about justice. There could have been charges against those officers. They could have been charged with manslaughter. They could have been charged with reckless homicide. Could have been charged with criminal negligence at the very least. So I don't buy this notion that that this grand jury just looked at the evidence and they reached their conclusion based on the evidence. The prosecution drives the grand jury process. They drive the grand jury process. As people have said, a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich in a grand jury situation. Because first of all, you don't have defense attorneys there. All you have is the prosecution presenting this case unopposed to a grand jury. So this U.S. attorney could have brought charges. Here you have an innocent woman who just happened to be in the wrong location at the wrong time. Like she was next to her boyfriend at the time of the shooting, but she wasn't the one firing at the police. How does she end up getting shot 6 times? And, and these cops get away with it. How is it that they can charge, that officer who shot into those abandoned, not abandoned, but shot at those other apartment complex areas or units? How is he charged with endangerment when you had these officers who shot this woman, who shot a woman, an unarmed woman 6 times, but they're not charged with anything? They don't face any kind of charges. To me, that's insane. To me, that's reckless. That's just absolutely asinine. I can understand them saying, well, even if they were to say, yes, we were justified in shooting at her boyfriend because he fired shots. But where's their justification for shooting this unarmed woman? Why is that not reckless? Why is that not negligent, criminally negligent? But this is the situation you have. And then they have this Uncle Tom, Uncle Ruckus, Attorney General down there trying to justify this shit, trying to justify this injustice. I mean, this is another example of them using the covered Negro to justify oppressive policies, to cover up racism, a buffer to cover up racism. Diversity is meaningless if it has the same result as outright, white supremacists. And that's what you have in this situation. This AG said that that this wasn't a situation involving a no-knock warrant. That's what he claims. He says that there was one witness who said that the police announced themselves. So based on that, he's claiming that this was not a no-knock warrant situation. Even though Breonna Taylor's boyfriend said that the police did not identify themselves. Even though you have all these other witnesses that say that the police did not identify themselves. You got this Negro prosecutor relying on the testimony of one witness to put up this argument that this was not executed as a no-knock warrant. When that's exactly what the officers sought in this case. They sought a no-knock warrant, and according to other witnesses, there was no warning that this was the police and all that kind of stuff. And this is very important, because if somebody knocks down your door without announcing themselves and they invade your house, you're going to do what is necessary to defend yourself. You're going to try to protect yourself from these intruders. And, that kind of policy is very dangerous. It jeopardizes not only the lives of the occupants of the structure, it jeopardizes the lives of police officers. And that's what you had in this situation. According to all these other witnesses, how is the testimony of all these other witnesses going to be outweighed by the testimony of one witness? And I'm just curious, did they buy this witness off? Did they promise this witness something? That's what I want to know, to get them to say this. So, they put these Negro faces out in front of you to make you think that everything is okay. You got this Uncle Tom sellout, Uncle Ruckus as prosecutor, who's more concerned with the protesters than he's concerned with justice for Breonna Taylor. And as far as I'm concerned, these token Negroes don't even matter to me. It doesn't matter that you got some token Negro in a position if they're going to do the same thing that a racist white man would do in that position. And then, they also talked about, this prosecutor also mentioned that there was only one fatal shot in this situation. And they said that she would have died, Breonna Taylor would have died in seconds or minutes after being struck from that one fatal shot. Even though there were at least 6 shots, there was only one fatal shot according to this prosecutor. And basically, they're using that as some kind of justification for the delay in providing medical service. Because from what I've heard, they said it was 20 minutes before she received any kind of medical attention. And they're saying that because of that, she died. But then you had this prosecutor saying that there was only one fatal shot and that she would have died within seconds. So this situation is crazy. Peace and blessings to everyone in the chat. Good morning to all of you. But yeah, there are just a few other points that I want to touch on before I close out in this video. So that was one thing. Another thing that that this attorney general was saying was that the police were justified in using deadly force. That's what he said. They were justified in returning fire. But again, were they justified in killing Breonna Taylor? Were they justified in killing her? Why is that, again, why is that not negligent? Why is that not reckless to shoot an unarmed woman that wasn't shooting at the police, that wasn't posing a threat to the police? You mean to tell me that because they're shooting at somebody shooting at a particular suspect that's firing at them, that gives them justification to kill innocent people that are in the area? So if somebody is shooting at, somebody happens to be shooting at an officer and they're in a crowded space or something like that, does that justify the police to kill the other, innocent people that are in the area? Does that give them an out? Does that exonerate them for killing innocent people in the crossfire? And this whole situation, just the way things happen, just point out how much they need to reform the warrant issuing process. Now they've already, implemented some changes in, I think it's just in Louisville. I don't know if it's statewide, but they need to eliminate no-knock warrants, not only in Kentucky, but around this country, so that we don't have these situations, so that we don't have innocent people being killed, so that we don't have police knocking down people's doors without warning, creating a violent and dangerous situation. That's something that needs to be implemented today. That's something that our Congress people need to pass today, to get rid of no-knock warrants around the country, instead of allowing on these various jurisdictions to do what they want to do and set up the kind of laws that they want to set up. That's something that needs to happen right away. Another thing is just like the whole process period in getting a warrant. Here you had a warrant issued on false information. Here you had a warrant that was unjustifiably issued. The police were supposedly executing some drug warrant, some drug search warrant, based on some allegation that there was some drug conspiracy. But they didn't find any drugs in that house. They didn't find any proof of a crime. And then you also had a situation where the ex-boyfriend, who's been charged with dealing drugs, from, somebody she's not dating now, somebody that lives somewhere else, he's been charged with dealing drugs, but he said she has nothing to do with any drugs that he's dealing. And they tried to get that brother who was charged with the drugs to try to allege that Breonna Taylor was a part of his operation so that he could get a better deal. That's how grimy and how filthy these people are. That's how disgusting they are. And then you have this prosecutor talking about mob justice. After saying all this stuff about, hey, this was laid out by the facts and all that kind of stuff, you got to make decisions based on reason and the evidence and the law and all that kind of stuff. He went on to complain about mob justice. He talked about how mob justice is not justice. Justice sought by violence is not justice. It's revenge. That's what this guy said. That's what this guy went on to talk about. And, basically he's like, as people have said on channels like CNN, he's regurgitating, Trump campaign talking points. Trump has suggested that there's some kind of mob justice going on. And then, this guy, the mob justice. First of all, I want to deal with that whole thing. The protesters are not engaged in mob justice. They are demanding justice. They are demanding that the system do what it is supposed to do in theory. But we have all these examples time and time again where these police get away with killing our people. And this is just yet another example of the police getting getting away with killing our people, getting away with lynching our people. And it's time for us to do something about it. It's time for us to take action. And that is not mob justice. That is the people marching in the streets and demanding justice. That's what it is. We're not going to sit by and allow these police to kill our people without doing anything. You know, the time for us to sit on the sidelines and let this stuff happen is over with. It's time for people not only to protest and march and stuff like that. It's time for us to use every single means available to us to make a difference, to bring about the change that we want to see. And if you're looking for somebody to get on here and tell people not to be outraged, if you're on here waiting for somebody to tell the people to calm down and to chill out and to be good Negroes and be responsible Negroes, you came to the wrong channel. You can get that stuff from one of these people on one of these major news networks trying to pacify the people and get the people not to be riled up. The people have every reason to be outraged. The people have every reason to want to take action. And I will start caring about white property when they start caring about Black lives, man. All these people, all these names, every other day, another person killed by these police in front of our eyes a lot of times, where we have video evidence of these killings and there's no justice. And then you got this AG down there complaining about celebrities and activists, talking about they think they know more about how the situation is or more about the case than the people there in Kentucky and all that kind of stuff. We have to understand that this is something that they have always done, to criticize the movement, to attack the movement. You know, they have always complained about outside agitators. Like when you had the Freedom Riders, they called them outside agitators. When you had people like Martin Luther King protesting, they called them outside agitators. When you had SNCC going to Mississippi fighting for voting rights, they were labeled as outside agitators. And it's just a damn shame that you have a Black man basically using talking points from white supremacists, using the same language as a Bull Connor and stuff. It's just absolutely ridiculous, man. It's absolutely outrageous. And yeah, I mean, the only good thing that came out of this thing, you know, from this attorney general is his talk about having a task force to deal with the search warrant process. And we need to make sure that we push to hold that task force accountable, to make sure they do what is necessary. That's what the people have to do. And I have to talk about, you know, the importance of voting. Like, not only should we be marching in the streets and protesting, we need to march to those polls and use our vote as a political weapon against these current elected officials. I don't know if this attorney general is up on the ballot in November. You know, I'm not sure of how long his term is, but if he is up on the ballot, the people need to vote him out, because this man had a chance to render justice for Breonna Taylor and failed to do so. Instead, you know, this man basically, you know, rocks with Donald Trump. This man is walking side by side with Donald Trump. This man was at the Republican convention defending Donald Trump, downplaying racism. This man must go. Donald Trump must go. All of these people that stand in the way of our progress must go. And one of the ways that we do that is by exercising our right to vote, by marching to the polls by the thousands and millions. That's what we need to do, to vote out these people that don't care about us, to vote out a Trump administration that doesn't give a damn about Breonna Taylor. They didn't have a damn thing to say about this injustice that happened. Didn't have any words of consolation or words of comfort for Breonna Taylor's family or any of that stuff. Doesn't care anything about ending police brutality. The Trump administration must go. People like this Daniel Cameron, this coon Uncle Ruckus attorney general have to go. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to be all polite on here. I'm not going to brush over things like these people do on the mainstream media where they don't speak out and they don't tell the truth about these people. People like him need to be shamed. These sellouts among us, these traitors among us need to be shamed and called out and ostracized, alienated. That's what needs to happen to them. So yeah, we need to march to the polls, just like we march in the streets. Because it's that a lot of these positions that we complain about, a lot of the things that we complain about are things that are a result of policies implemented by elected officials. And here we have an elected official that needs to go. So let's march to the polls and vote like our lives depend on it. Vote for your local district attorney. Vote for your mayor and, vote for a mayor and all these other positions, your city council, your state representatives, your state senators. Study their records so that you can know if they're in alignment with a Black agenda. Study the voting records of your people in Congress and the candidates running for Congress and the Senate and, of course, the White House. We have to vote these people out of office if we want to see a difference in our community. So I'm going to go through your comments real quick. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I truly appreciate it. But yeah, anybody I just saw a comment about, some of these YouTubers telling you not to vote. Anybody telling you not to vote is somebody that's not interested in real change. They're not interested in doing what's necessary to bring about some of the policy changes that we need to see. The no-knock warrant issue, that's a policy issue. That's an issue that can be changed by a law outlawing no-knock warrants. Do you all know about this racial Justice Act, the George Floyd Act is before Congress? We need to be pushing our people, our representatives to enact that law. And that only happens through elections. And, as Psycho said here, I see your comment. He says he wasn't shocked. I wasn't shocked either. I knew going in that there was a strong likelihood of this turning out this way. We've seen this movie before, time and time again. It's the same cycle where you have, a Black person killed by these police. You have the public outrage. You have the same recycled group of attorneys. And then at the end of the day, the cops walk, the attorneys and the families get paid off, and it fades away from memory. And then there's another case of police brutality, and we repeat that same cycle. That's just how it goes, unfortunately. But we have to be the ones to change that. So I'm going to check out the rest of your comments. Shout out to everyone in the chat room. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so Ali Girl said, even if they did announce themselves, they targeted a low threat level home in the middle of the night for what? Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's like, why use these particular tactics? Why do it this way, as she points out? Why implement it this way? Here you have an innocent woman dead. And I have to talk about this real quick. I'm just curious about all these women's empowerment channels here on YouTube. You know, these women who were using and pimping this Breonna Taylor situation to flare up the gender war and to basically say, well, Black women shouldn't be concerned about Black men who die at the hands of the police. I wonder where these people are right now. Where are their videos about Breonna Taylor? Where's their advocacy for Breonna Taylor? Some of these people, the only time they mention a Breonna Taylor is to use her to attack Black men, to, you know, to exploit her, to use her as some kind of political football, to attack Black men, and to encourage division in the movement, to encourage Black women to fall back and to not be engaged and involved in the movement for social justice and the end of police brutality. And I just find that to be despicable. I find these people to be hypocritical because that's the only time they mention a Breonna Taylor. I'm wondering, like, and I unsubscribed from quite a few of those types of YouTubers. But I would be curious as to know, like, if they're doing these videos talking about Breonna Taylor now, you know, talking about it outside of the gender war issue. So let's see what others are saying. Oh, good morning to Gorgeous G. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a while since you've tuned in, at least to the live streams. Yeah, so Super 24/77 said that is why he refused to arrest those cops. He sold his soul with the devil for his own agenda. Yeah, because this guy, he's like a rising star within the Republican Party. You know, he's relatively young. Like I think he's like 30 something. And he's already the Kentucky Attorney General. I'm sure he's probably going to become a senator or a congressman and probably end up running for president. I wouldn't be surprised. It's like they are propping him up. This guy is a protege of Mitch McConnell. You know, he's got a high value speaking slot in the Republican National Convention. So he's one of these Negroes on the rise, man. But his individual rise is not a rise for Black people. I was on Facebook and somebody was talking about, oh, Donald Trump appointed some Black woman judge, and she was talking about this, you know, suggesting that, hey, the media is not talking about these Black officials that Donald Trump is appointing, you know, and she was suggesting that this was some great thing that he had appointed some Black woman judge and all that kind of stuff. And it's not about these identities. My whole thing is it's not about superficial identity. It's not about tokenism. That stuff doesn't matter. It's about what kind of policies or what kind of decisions these people are going to make when they get in power. It doesn't matter if you have some Negro in a position if they are working to the detriment of their people, just like a Clarence Thomas. Him being on the Supreme Court is not helping Black people just because he has a Black face. This man has voted against voting rights. This man has voted against necessary criminal justice reforms. This man has voted against affirmative action on the Supreme Court. So these people, you know, the fact that you got these Negro token people in positions is meaningless. It's about what is their agenda? What kind of policies do they plan to implement, or what kind of decisions do they plan to implement that will benefit the people? And this is just another example of one of these Negro puppets who are appointed to carry out the duties of their white daddy. And that's what you have here. So I'm going to continue going through your comments. Yeah, so let's shout out to Sister. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, and I'm not going to get into Biden versus Trump and all that kind of stuff. You know, you all know my position on that. Like you understand my position. I'm not going to, engage in a back and forth about that. But if anybody is thinking about sitting out this election, you're a damn fool. Period. You had this Donald Trump, making all kinds of racist statements, supporting all kinds of hostile policies to our interests, but yet you're going to sit on the sidelines. How is that intelligent? And, frankly, I think some of these people that promote that idea, I think a lot of them are Russian bots or just idiots, man, because all they're doing is perpetuating and protecting Donald Trump. Here's a man who's even talking about like not peacefully transferring power if he loses the election. This is the kind of man we're talking about. A man who's failed miserably when it comes to addressing this pandemic, where we're over 200,000 people are dead from this pandemic, but yet people want to be on the fence about this election. Instead of listening to these talking heads and stuff, I encourage people to watch these presidential debates. They're coming up soon. I'm going to Google it right now, the next presidential debate. Yeah, so the next debate is Tuesday, September 29th. And let's see, which channel? I'm not sure what channel it is, but you all can go and check that out, find out when that debate is. It's Tuesday, September 29th. I encourage you to watch it for yourself, listen to what these candidates have to say, study their platforms for yourself, and reach your own conclusion. Yeah, it's just crazy, man. Like, imagine that Breonna Taylor was your sister, your girlfriend, your daughter, and you don't have any kind of justice at all. And it's like they think we're stupid or something. They think we're like gullible or something. They think we're just going to sit back and chill because they gave Trump some whack charges to one of the officers. And I wouldn't be surprised if that officer didn't get off. Here, this officer was like shooting indiscriminately into apartment buildings. Into apartments. Innocent people could have been shot. People just minding their own business that didn't do anything, that don't have anything to do with that search warrant, could have been shot. This shows you just how reckless some of these police are. And I definitely think charges should be brought against him, but those shouldn't be the only charges. He shouldn't be the only one charged with a crime. Yeah, I don't believe that we have enough laws. I just think that I mean, I think that we do have a lot of civil rights laws on the books, but we don't have enough laws. Anytime it's still legal for people to carry out no-knock warrants, you can't say that we have enough laws. You can't say that. Anytime you have police departments that are still able to, engage in racial profiling and kill black people with impunity, and they still get away with it. They go to jail. I mean, they don't even get charged, and if they get charged, they walk. And they use the law as an excuse not to charge these officers. The current law. So the law has to be changed to get rid of these loopholes that allow these police to get away with murdering our people. Of course, there are a lot of civil rights laws on the books. There are plenty of laws that are being used to try to fight against these problems. And I get what you're saying, but there are more laws that need to be enacted to deal with these police. And another example, as Julius Dennis mentioned, is getting rid of qualified immunity for these police. Now you got this troll here talking about this is not a racial issue. Her BS caught up with her. So I'm just going like trolls. Like this is not a safe place for you trolls. Like this is not a area for white supremacists. You are not safe on my channel. Your comments don't matter. Trolls don't matter. Troll lives don't matter here on my channel. You get deleted. You get blocked. Your comments get erased. I can understand somebody bringing legitimate arguments or counter positions and all that kind of stuff. I'll be happy to debate those kind of people any day of the week. But when you come on here trolling, when you come on here attacking a woman who was killed by the police, you're not fit or worthy to be on this channel. You're not worthy to be in this space. You're just not. And I have zero tolerance for trolls. This woman was innocent. There's no proof that she committed any crime. What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, so here we are, another situation. Shout out to Bonafide 1970. Yeah, another situation where these police get away with killing our people. Yeah, and that's a great point. Bonafide, plenty of black men have been advocating for justice for Breonna Taylor. You got black men going to jail protesting for Breonna Taylor. Black men marching in the street for Breonna Taylor. Black men here on YouTube speaking out for Breonna Taylor. So, I reject this false narrative that's put out here that black men are only advocating for other black men and black men don't care about the plight of black women. I was watching CNN last night and even Van Jones was promoting that false narrative. I'm like, why are you perpetuating this stuff? When there are plenty of examples of black men speaking out and protesting in support of our sisters who have been killed by these police. Yeah, this is too much at stake. But yeah, I want to encourage you all to, to vote. I want to encourage you all to, be aware of the um, different positions of the politicians, their track records, not only on the federal level, but the state level and the local level, because these positions matter, because these people make policy decisions, they take actions that affect our lives. And here's a prime example of that. This attorney general decided not to aggressively pursue the justice for Breonna Taylor. And here you have this situation where these police literally get away with murdering his sister. Yeah, so I see this. I see this comment from E. He said that Cynthia G said that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend didn't protect her because she ended up killed. And that's just another. I mean, she's just another one of these. For like, I'm just gonna call her what she is. Like, she's a troll. Like, that's what this woman is. She trolls black men with her YouTube channel, and it's been a long time since I watched her material. Like, I unsubscribed from her a long time ago because she's just another one of these gender warriors, no different from your Tommy Sotomayor's or these other, hateful people that want to fuel conflict between black men and women. Like, she started off speaking out against the so-called evil white albinoids and white supremacy this, white supremacy that. And then that turned to dusty beta males. That became her focus. So I can't take these people seriously, man. I can't take them seriously at all. And in that situation, you had a brother who was trying to defend his family, trying to defend, his girlfriend and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, she ended up dead. If he didn't pull out any guns or anything like that, if he didn't fire at the police, he would have been called soft. He would have been called weak. He would have been called a beta and all this and that. You can't win for losing with these people. So, I mean, it's like, why even waste your energy on that? Like, I don't even entertain these people. Like, I'm really, I wonder, like, I've realized like how precious time is. So I don't have time to watch trolls, bash black men. I don't have time to watch these YouTubers that are Uncle Ruckuses and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to be focused on presenting my message, my message on here, trying to use my voice to make a difference. And, I encourage you all to do whatever you can to make a difference in your community. And we have to extend beyond, just YouTube. This YouTube stuff is not enough. It just isn't. This is a place where we share our opinions about things, but we need to be involved in our communities. We need to be a part of community groups and political organizations making a difference in our community. That's something that Kwame Ture pushed heavily, the need to organize. That's the only way that you fight this kind of stuff that we see in our community. This is the only way that you fight against the police brutality and the racism that we see. We need to use our platforms to organize. And like, one great thing that I would like to see is like us use our platforms and work together to organize demonstrations and protests and boycotts and things of that nature, instead of just getting on here monetizing our opinions. So anyway, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I truly appreciate your support, and I will be back up with another video. I'm going to do a couple of videos. These other ones are more lighthearted than this particular one. So you all look out for those. I want to do one about Vlad TV and Lord Jamar, boycotting Vlad TV. I did an actual recorded video, but it's like it takes forever to upload these videos. So I'm just going to go ahead and just do it live in a couple of minutes. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Peace and blessings, everyone. Have a great day. Justice for Breonna Taylor.